This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Ash Gregoire, with 30 dealerships and over 3,000 vehicles in stock.
If you're a regular viewer here on Test Drive, you'll know that I haven't had the chance to feature any vehicles from Audi, whether it be new or used. But all of that changes today. This, my friends, is a 2018 Audi Q5 Tech Prestige, or here in Canada, it is the Technik trim. Now, this is a compact luxury SUV produced by Audi, and it fits in line with things like the BMW X3 or Mercedes GLC. And this one's just a couple years old. It's the second generation. The current generation, there was a facelift though for 2021, so it changes kind of the front end, the back end a little bit, but for the most part, the underpinnings are going to be about the same. This is built on Volkswagen's MLB Evo platform, which underpins a lot of vehicles from Audi, as well as some of the Porsches and even Lamborghini Urus. Now, this is the first time that we're driving this platform, and again, a vehicle from Audi. But before we continue, I want to thank our friends at Ash Gregoire for letting me feature this 2018 Audi Q5. They have over 3,000 vehicles in stock at 30 dealerships across North America, and you can save $200 off the purchase of your next used vehicle by visiting promo.ashgregoire.com/Nile. So big thanks to them for letting us feature this car, and it would not be possible without their help. Because this one is a couple years old, I wasn't able to get the exact original MSRP for this, but this trim was about $54,200 Canadian and $44,100 in the US. Could have had a number of packages and options on it, but for the most part, that's kind of the ballpark of the original MSRP for this. The important thing though is this uses a 2-liter 4-cylinder TFSI engine that produces 252 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. And it uses a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, which is kind of rare in this segment. A lot of the manufacturers, specifically the luxury ones, have kind of moved away from the dual-clutch transmissions. The current generation of ZF 8-speeds are really good. They're very fast, but Audi's decided to go with the 7-speed dual-clutch, their own in-house transmission for this. Though if you were to go up to the SQ5, the performance version, that would have a ZF 8-speed transmission. So kind of interesting to note, but we'll talk about that more when we go on the road. This also uses the legendary Quattro system that we've come to know from Audi, but with new Ultra technology. Audi says that that allows the vehicle to decouple the drive shaft for the rear wheels, giving you better fuel economy, and it says that it can recouple those rear wheels within milliseconds if it detects any slippage. So these vehicles should be more fuel efficient than the previous generation, meaning you can save more at the pump and ultimately still have that legendary Quattro 4-wheel drive system when you need it. Now, I'll tell you, I've only driven 2 Audis in my entire life. That's pretty sad when you think about it. The first one I drove was 2004 S4. That was pretty much new when I drove it. And that was also the first car I ever drove as a manual. The second one I drove was the first time the SQ5 was available here in Canada. That was a really short drive, but it gave me an idea of what the more newer versions of Audi vehicles felt like on the road. Now, that used a regular 8-speed transmission, didn't have the dual clutch, and at the time, that was the one thing I found that was a complaint about it. It was pretty slow when shifting. It couldn't find the right gears, but the newest generation should be quite a bit better. And like I said, with the dual clutch on this, there should be no problems whatsoever when you're shifting. We have some safety technology that comes on this vehicle, including blind spot information, forward collision alert, parking sensors on the front and rear, as well as a 360-degree camera. Exterior styling is pretty core to what Audi has been doing for a while. Yeah, I can't really comment too much about it because, again, this is the first vehicle we've driven from the brand, but it looks pretty good overall. The facelift, again, changes things a little bit, smooths out the front end, and gives you some slightly better tech on the back, but it's a pretty good looking vehicle, and again, fits in with the other compact luxury crossovers sold in this segment. One of the things that is kind of interesting when it comes to this car is the door handles. You know, for the most part, when you pull out a door handle, it kind of pulls out like a door, but these ones kind of lift up, which is kind of interesting when you get into the car. It's got a nice feel to it, and there's some small details about that I've noticed when it comes to driving this vehicle. I mean, Audi just takes things just not to the next level, but just slightly different level when it comes to the way that they sort of engineer their vehicle. So things like that are kind of cool. You jump on the inside, you have a very cockpit-oriented interior. Everything's facing towards the driver, and it's a very tech-forward vehicle. We have a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, Audi's digital cockpit. You can have things like all the information about your car, but as well as the map, music, things like that. They're all on that screen. We have an 8.3-inch infotainment system. It's smaller, but again has navigation and all the information that you would need in the center there, as well as a 19-speaker Bang & Olufsen 755-watt audio system. It sounds pretty darn good. And especially at this price point, you usually have to add on quite a few packages and get the price up quite a bit to get a nice audio system like that in this segment. And this one sounds great. We also have tri-zone automatic climate control, something that we don't usually find here. Plus, the controls for the front two seats are truly dual zone. It's not just single zone for the airflow. Both sides have different airflow and different temperatures, which again is something that we very rarely find. You usually only get that when you go with the top-end flagship vehicles in the luxury segment. We have front heated seats, driver memory, and a panoramic sunroof. The back seats, there's, cup holders. They're pretty well engineered. They fold down from the center and kind of pop open, so there's some cool stuff there. For the most part, it works really well for a luxury compact vehicle, and I have to say that I've been pretty impressed with it in the short time that I've had with it so far. But the important stuff is really to take it on the road. I want to talk about the engine, I want to talk about the performance, and some of the reasons why you're going to be considering this Audi Q5, and everything else you need to know if you're in the market for whether it's a used Audi Q5 or a used luxury crossover in general. And before we get into our review too much here, I just want to go over the fuel economy when it comes to this vehicle. This Audi Q5 TFSI completed our 100 kilometer test loop in 7.1 liters per 100 kilometers, which is really, really good. Now, how does that compare? The thing is, we haven't really driven any regular compact luxury vehicles. I mean, for the most part, they're either performance ones or they're plug-ins. So going in kind of order of what we've done, we did the X3 plug-in hybrid. That completed it in 6.3 liters, so pretty close considering the X3 is a plug-in hybrid. We did the Lincoln Corsair. That completed it in 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers. And then we've also done the Mercedes GLC 43. That was an AMG version. That was a 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So for the most part, this has done very, very well for this kind of vehicle, which that's good stuff there. And this engine is really good as well. You have some good performance out of it. The numbers are good, but the fuel economy will definitely be a plus for you. It does use premium fuel, but so do the other luxury makers anyway, so you're going to be using it regardless. Now, we have this vehicle in dynamic mode, which is like the sport mode. We also have it in manual shift mode. Now, the idea is, because this is a dual clutch, things are much better for shifting, and they absolutely are. Holy man, this thing is quick. I don't like to use the gear shifter here, the lever. It's the opposite shift pattern of what I would prefer. You push away from you is to go up, and towards you is to go down. Should be the other way around, but that's there if you want to use it that way. You do have flappy paddles, and it works very well. Performance on this is pretty good. And if we were to come to a stop, you can shift down, and it's not like there's much sound to it, but you get the idea. Put it into first, and we go. Not quite off the line as quick, but third, 100. Easy, easy. This is a pretty peppy little car. So if you're looking for performance, this is definitely a good option for you. And that's the thing, I mean, how does Audi stack up compared to some of the competition? Like, what is their niche? You know, I guess it's kind of sporty. They've always been sort of a sporty edge to the luxury game, but I'd also say it's technology, because you do get a lot of tech on this. Okay, it's a 2018, so it's not modern, but you do have quite a bit of tech. Like I said, front heated seats, that's good to have. You have heated outboard rear seats and tri-zone climate control. That's really cool. And then I think my favorite part is the fact that you actually do have proper 3-zone climate control with 2 completely independent zones up front. That is something that we pretty much never find, let alone in this segment. I mean, it's pretty much unheard of in this segment, but the idea is, you know, I can have it set so, you know, my feet are kind of cold. I'm going to have it set to that, but the passenger can have it just on their head or at the defrost, so you can completely control those. That's something that we don't usually find in this segment. So great stuff there from Audi. You've got the tech there. The infotainment system works. It might take a little getting used to, a little touch controller with a shifter as well. So there's, you know, a couple ways to interface with it. Plus the steering wheel, yeah, has a separate set of controls for the digital cockpit. So there's a lot of tech, a lot of data that you can have with this vehicle, but it does work. So I'm pretty impressed with what you get out of this, especially for the price. When you think about this, you know, being around $45,000 US, $54,000 Canadian when it was new, I think the only package that we're really missing from this, aside from like the S-Line and stuff, the appearance type packages, we just don't have adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. We have the rest of the safety stuff, 360-degree camera, forward collision, blind spot monitoring, all of that. So it's just those two things, which I believe was a package. So it's pretty well equipped. I mean, I gotta say, it's pretty good for that. And I'm happy with it. You know, considering this is really the first Audi that I've driven since the original SQ5 came out, and really since that S4 that I drove over a decade ago. It is a good experience. I do see why people buy these vehicles. You know, there isn't much to dislike, and this is actually a super high mileage vehicle. This has 95,000 kilometers on it. And the rest of the car is in pretty good shape, usual wear and tear, but everything works. All the buttons work, all the controls work, everything about it works. And it's got some Porsche-like interior bits to it. You know, like when you lock the car, it kind of chirps like the Porsches do, and even the interior lighting, we talked about it when we did the Cayenne from Ash Gregoire before. When you get out of the car, if it's bright out, the interior dome lights aren't going to turn on. So nice little touches from this vehicle, but overall, yeah, it is really good. The ride, it's smooth, going over some of the bumps. You'd think it almost is the air suspension that would normally come on the SQ5, but it isn't. So I can only imagine how much better that would be. This is already good. Interior road noise, very good as well. So I mean, this has a lot going for it. Good job, Audi. This shows me what I've been missing over the years by not being able to feature these cars, and now I can understand why they are so popular. There's a lot to like about this car. If you have any questions about this episode, please let me know. Leave a comment below. I always try to get back to everybody that I can, and also consider giving a thumbs up to the video if you liked it. Don't forget, if you are in the market for a used car, you can visit promo.ashgregoire.com/Niall. That's my name, to get $200 off your next purchase at any of the 30 dealerships across North America from Ash Gregoire. Until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.